All right. Hey, see, look, most people see distressed properties, but Michael Fernandez, he sees acquisition, redevelopment, and even tokenized investment opportunities. You're in store for a incredible podcast today with Michael Fernandez. How are you, sir? Welcome to the
I
show.
am I am good. Thank you for that wonderful intro. It's very kind of you.
Well, offline you were sharing with so many golden nuggets. I'm like, no, 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 stop, hold on. Let's put it on the podcast. So
Yeah.
excited to start the recording here. And
Sure.
we'd like to start with a little bit of the background, right?
Yeah.
Who is Michael Fernandez? Where did you come from? Were you a corporate guy? Were
Yeah.
you always an entrepreneur? Did the family come from that lineage of real estate? Like, where did you learn to build, your business? So take it away.
Yeah, so no, my family not I mean, look, my father had a side business, but he worked for the government. Um my mother, yes, I mean she had a house cleaning business, but she was more a stay-at-home mom than anything. So not really too much for my parents. I think it was more about the people I surrounded myself with, more than anything. But my background was I was in the military. From the military when I came out, I did personal protection work and I fought professionally in MMA for about
Mm.
5 years. Um, I did pretty well, shattered my hand, and a couple other bumps and bruises. Pay wasn't that great. I had a kid to support, so making $500 a fight wasn't wasn't cutting it. Um, I ended up getting introduced to real estate back in '05, '06. I had my August 18th of '06 was my last fight, but in '05 I got introduced to mortgages. Um, and then just kind of started working my way through there. I did residential mortgages, commercial mortgages. Um, Went to work for a hedge fund here in New York, um, for a few years. I was doing some spec homes and stuff like that on my own, because I had met a couple builders that I had gotten along with, so I was doing some spec homes. Uh, and then the market tanked. Um, and the fund did not need me anymore because they were recalling a ton of loans and they were becoming more of a property management company than anything really. Um, so from there, I kind of had to figure out stuff on my own. I mean, I lost literally everything. I mean, all my cars, my and the couple properties I did have personally, I mean, gone, right? So I really had to start from scratch. So
Yeah, no, I mean,
it was crazy. It made it
hmm,
really was. But what saved me was the real estate investing because
hmm.
the things I did learn while working for the fund and doing mortgages and doing spec homes, um, I was able to go out and make some connections with a couple attorneys, do some learning on my own. And during that time, we were faced with all these foreclosures going on. So we were taking foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, helping save the people from losing their home. And we were taking those properties and utilizing them as rentals. We were doing co-living rentals back in 2009, where we were housing folks that were either homeless vets or just homeless civilians that were stuck in a homeless shelter, needed a place to live so they could hit the reset button. Um, and that's what we did. So we stayed with that for a number of years, and things just expanded to where they are today.
It's so interesting, right? A lot of people avoid conflict, avoid controversy, avoid setbacks, but yet the biggest determination of how you grow is typically in the bad times, right? Not necessarily in the good times. You probably
Yeah.
get stagnated, you get comfortable, okay with how things are going, like, hey, I'm okay. But through the adversity is where most of us build calluses and build up, new foundations of new skin per se, right? To head into the marketplace. So it's really cool to hear that, and obviously, the fighting side of things, right? It's
Yeah,
it's an interesting journey because a lot of people feel like, hey, there's a lot of glory in sports, right? Like I'm a
yeah.
former D1 soccer guy, and
Oh,
like
wow.
you see all the things, right? But you know what? The 1% of the 1% of the 1% make it to the high levels.
Yeah.
But it's so cool that someone took an interest in you. So obviously it sounds like you were the type of guy that, man, they saw work ethic, they saw integrity, they saw just a fight to be a winner, but you needed to get molded and brought to a situation and to an industry that you could, build yourself out. So it's really cool to have you, share that part of the story. So
Yeah.
when does it become like, hey, for you, when did that ideation of you doing this on your own, because you were inside of a fund learning
Hmm.
things, when did you get that itch, like to say, okay, well, I think I'm good. I've learned enough. Or did you kind of simultaneously play both sides of the fence and be able to build something on your own, build, the fund or what have you? How
Yeah.
did that work out for you?
So yeah, when the market tanked and the company, wasn't, lending anymore and didn't have any place for me, it was really a decision of, am I going to keep sinking or I mean, what am I going to do at this point, right? So I thought to myself, look, I've done spec homes, I've seen enough deals, so I got to be able to do this on my own, right? So I kind of made a loose plan and then dove into it. I'm not saying that I dove into it blind, but I definitely, what do they say? Take massive imperfect action. So I
Hmm.
definitely took massive imperfect action. Because I didn't have, I think, if I remember correctly, I think I had like 2,700 bucks left in my bank account at that time. I'm like, how the hell am I going to buy a property with 2,700 bucks? Like, what am I going to like? That's a fancy dinner, I guess, out. But that was really it wasn't going to go too much further than that. But um, so I look, I had to get a job. I ended up getting a job at a restaurant because one thing I left out that I forgot to tell you, I went to school to become a chef,
Oh, okay.
and I hated it. I did it for a very, very short period, and I'm like, this sucks. I'm not doing this. So I say that to mention when everything collapsed, I had that to fall back on. So I went to a restaurant and remembered really quick why I hated doing it and why I wanted to get the hell out. So that gave me some additional motivation on top of losing everything. Um, so when I got home at night from that restaurant job, I used to do a ton of research. I would research from about 11 at night till about 3 in the morning. Then I would go to sleep, get up at 9, be to the restaurant by 10, and rinse and repeat, right? So uh, a lot of the push came from being so miserable at that restaurant job and being so mad for losing everything, right? That kind of gave me the push to just go out on my own, even though I'd never really been out on my own before. That gave me the push that I needed. And like I said, I put together a very loose plan, and then dove in, and it was kind of like how do they say, trial by fire and like OJT. Um, you're learning from your mistakes as you go. Because back then I didn't really there was the idea of a mentor to me was I didn't even really know what the hell that was. That
Hmm.
was it was not something that I was familiar with, right? So I was doing it on my own, building this company that um I had no idea where it was going to go to, who I was going to meet. Um, and now, we're wholesaling properties, we're, fixing and flipping properties. We have rentals all over. Put together a fund on my own out of necessity because of deals that we were doing. Now we have a SEC Reg D and Reg S tokenization platform um, that 2 years ago I knew nothing about, like totally. I didn't even know what tokenization was. Um, and just took the time to absorb it all. And again, another thing that I did on my own with no one to hold my hand, right? It was learn as you go. I was asking questions to the attorneys, so on and so forth. But again, I jumped in and did it. Did I make mistakes? Absolutely. Do I still make mistakes? 100%. But I was able to put together a team that make up for where I lack, right? Which is probably a lot of places if you ask them. But uh, I was able to put that together, which is a huge help to me, and is really why this is going in the direction that it's going. It's really because of them. Um, yeah, I had the idea, but they've been putting in the work and really helping me to get this where it's going. But and then we had a third vertical to the company, which when we go to these properties, and a lot of them being virtual because I mean the internet, nobody's just buying in their backyard anymore. Most people are going all over the place to buy. The problem that came about was I didn't, you don't have somebody that somebody that you trust to go and look at the property, get a rehab estimate, or, let's say you lock it up and you're going to flip it and sell it, or if you're going to renovate it and sell, you don't have any of those boots on the ground there. So we put together a boots on the ground company, which again was meant to be internal um, for just our deals. And we started getting requests from other investors that we worked with, if they could, you know, use the service or get some help where, they had a property or whatever. So now that has also turned into a business that we're launching and now letting other investors use. That just came about like a month or 2 months ago. We started uh, pushing it out to the public. So that's very, very new. But uh
Hmm.
the response has been like it's been crazy. Just from the initial um inception of this thing, uh putting it out to the public, in the short period of time has been phenomenal. So that company is Home Solutions HQ. So we also have Investor Solutions HQ, right? Because we had one that was geared mainly towards the investors, but we said, you know what, homeowners are dealing with the same stuff, right? Um, so we opened up a another one that was very similar, but it was geared towards homeowners. But it was something out of need, out of necessity that ended up turning into another company for us kind of accidentally. But it was just a natural vertical because we were using it and having to call around and find people to go do these things for us at these properties. But it was a pain in the neck, right? Because if you don't know who's good. You're not from the area. You don't know who's going to rip you off. So we had to put a lot of work in to make sure we're getting good companies. But yeah, so that now is another vertical that we have, and hopefully that's gonna be it with this. But honestly, it's really grown into something that I couldn't imagine that it would have been back then. Like I couldn't have seen this far ahead, but a lot of it had to do with, taking that massive imperfect action and just going and doing, not being frozen with fear or analysis paralysis or any of that type of stuff. Is more of putting a light plan together, and jumping in and doing it, So yeah,
No, it's interesting, right? The trials and tribulations you've had in your life. Some would lean to just kind of crawling in their shell and saying, "Hey, woe is me," right?
yeah,
I didn't get this opportunity. Or I wasn't open this door. But seemingly, part of the Go4CEO mindset is really being driven by mindset and understanding that, hey, that next step is your responsibility. Take the step,
yeah,
learn, take the step, learn, right? And then be
yep,
open to, like you have been, at different verticals, different ways of doing things. And you said you had a foundation of going back to the restaurant industry, but you didn't quit there. Like you didn't say, okay, well,
yep,
I'm just going to go back to the industry that I don't really like. I got something of a degree per se in it,
yeah,
culinary degree, but I'm willing to just settle. No, you went 9 to 5 and then 5 to 9, or
yeah,
even probably older or
yeah,
later.
yeah,
Um, you put in the sacrifice. So, kudos to you to be at the point that where you've built the credibility, you've built the investor group, you've built the systems now. And now, how cool is this that you had built a some sort of system of boots on the ground, and now other investors, other groups are saying, "Hey, Mike, we need those guys, right? Let's
yeah,
let's 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 use them as a service." So,
yeah,
well, awesome. I mean, a lot of the things that we talk about on the Growth Show channel is leadership, operations, scaling, marketing. Talent optimization.
yeah,
Things that like that are in that space, right? The real estate space, because it is something solid that you could look at and feel
mhm,
and touch and, like you said, walk through, can be a little bit tricky in the sense of building a company around it. So
yeah,
from a building company, building talent perspective, what's been some of the ways that you've kind of organized your company so that you can grow into more talent, and it's not just Michael Fernandez and planting your flag somewhere. So,
yeah. No, good question. So with the operation, well, let me talk about the talent first. Having the people that you bring into your company, especially when you're first starting, right? They are the most important piece that you're going to put into your company, right? They are really like that linchpin that's going to hold everything together for you to push it to those next levels. Because without having a good team, you're going to have nothing but chaos. And I
mhm,
know because I went through it, right? At one point, we were growing way too fast. I mean, way, way too fast. We were using a lot of creative finance, and we were taking on a lot of buildings in the city. And I mean, I had 880 units inside of a year, right? So it went really, really quick. Um, and with that, we were having to bring on a lot of new people, which caused a lot of chaos because, like you were saying, I didn't have the systems in place. I didn't have the processes in place because things were going too fast.
mhm,
And I had this Israeli guy that I knew, very successful business guy. And he told me, he said, Michael, don't build the business so quick. Slow down. You have time. I'm like, what is this guy talking about? Why wouldn't I want to build a business quick? Like, look at all this money I'm making. Like, this is like he don't know what he's talking about. Like, I'm gonna go. So I used to yes him to death. Yeah, 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 yeah. But man, was he right? Hindsight's 2020. But um, I had my payroll at that point was 150,000 a month, right? For work that could have been done by 50,000 a month. So I had
mm,
like about 100,000 a month in waste going out the door. Why? I didn't have the systems in place. I didn't have the processes. And because of that, the people were not doing the jobs to the best of their abilities.
mhm.
Um, they didn't have an exact approach to doing those jobs. Um, and it caused a lot of chaos and headache, um, and a lot of money. And it caused me to almost get sued a couple times. So growing too fast, which I know a lot of people say would think, exploding so quick and getting to make all the money is a great thing, but it can actually do you more harm than it can good. We actually had to take steps back, and then I had to go renegotiate with these people that I had took the buildings from because a lot of them were giving me owner financing, right? So I had to renegotiate with them. Some of them I had to give the buildings back because I just couldn't keep up with everything. Um, Scaling it back the way I needed to, where it could have been manageable. Um, so we had to really rework the entire company at that point. And to top it off, I had my bookkeeper at the time had stolen $400,000 from us. Yeah, she was getting some of the government checks in the mail before they would get upstairs. Um, and she was getting them cashed.
Hmm.
So,
Wow.
yeah, I didn't throw her in jail. I actually became very close with her kids. She had two young sons. One of them was autistic, and the father was no help whatsoever. So I knew if I had the mother thrown in jail, those kids were gonna be a mess. So I was never gonna see the money again. I knew it was gone. Um, but I just walked away from it because I didn't want to hurt the kids, which people tell me I was stupid for that, but whatever, it is what it is. I don't think it was stupid, but um, so having that team when you're building your company is uber important, and making sure that you're picking the right people from day one. Spend the extra time to do it. Spend the extra time to get to know each person that you're looking at hiring from a background to previous employment. Actually call their uh previous employers and get some details on them as much as you can get anyway to see what kind of person you're bringing into your company, right? um that's probably the most important thing that you could do. And there was another gentleman. He's a billionaire. He was one of the owners. You know the company, remember the company WeWork in New York City?
Hmm.
So one of the owners of WeWork, not Adam Neumann, his partner and CFO, who was behind the scenes, he had told me, he said, Michael, best thing you could do is spend 70% of your time hiring talent. I couldn't understand why. I'm like, 70% of my time hiring. Is this guy drunk? Like, I'm not spending, like, these billionaires think crazy, right? So then again, I found out I was wrong yet again. And it made sense to me why he was saying that, because it's so important the team that you have, that without a solid team, you're not going to get anywhere, and you're going to be
Hmm.
wearing all those hats that an owner wears or a CEO wears when you first start a company. You're going to be wearing them forever, and that is not where you want to be, because at that point you don't have a business, you have a job, and you're working for a crazy person, which is yourself, right? You're that boss that you wanted to run away from uh, for years, and the reason why you started the company in the first place. You're not doing. You don't have the freedom. You don't have, I mean, you're doing 10 different jobs. You're spending all kinds of crazy hours at work. Um, and it's just there's no balance, right? So that that team is your way of combating that and building a company that you can actually be proud of, and something that will do good for other people, and something that's going to give you the life that you want to have. But without those people, your life will be even more chaotic than you can imagine without having the right team, uh, and bringing in the wrong team, right? So that's probably by far the one of the most important things that I could tell anybody, that if you really want to grow a company, spending that time and finding the right people are really where you need to focus.
Well, as they say, Michael, success leaves clues. And
Yeah,
obviously, great mentorship and, a line here or there that you catch instead of being taught.
yeah,
When you catch things and they're caught, it's almost like the light bulb comes on, right? When you're being taught things, sometimes you fight them, right? Like you
yeah.
could be in a fight or flight mode, and well, this billionaire, he doesn't know what he's thinking, but he gave you something
Yeah,
that should have resonated, right? But
yeah,
until it was the right time, you figured that out, and it's such a cool experience to go through. And I think that's why people tune into podcasts a lot of times is, man, the
yeah,
Michael Fernandez of the world, and not knowing exactly what his background is, but then hearing this nugget that this guy from a big time company shares with you, or this Israeli gentleman that you said
yeah.
earlier, these are stepping blocks, right, onto what has been able to be the foundation of what you built. So let's get into the business itself, right?
Okay.
When you say, hey, you were spending 150,000 in salary, well, I mean, you got to be bringing in a million or so, just to even afford some of that, or maybe half a million, somewhere in
Mhm.
that range to afford that. So, what has been the revenue cycle like?
Yeah.
Is it mostly on the like buy and hold of the real estate that
Mhm.
brings in the revenue of the payments? Has it
Mhm.
been an investor group that maybe you have a source of funds that you can kind of do operating costs, and
Mhm.
then you make your upside on the sale? Like, what's been kind of the revenue source of the business?
Yeah, so yeah, good question. So when you're okay, so I'll go back to the beginning. When with starting again, remember I didn't have anything. I didn't have any money, nothing, right? Uh Barely enough money to form a company after after being cleaned out. But the the first thing that I had to do, I had to make quick money, right? I had to make money that was going to pay for me, right? Before anything.
Hmm.
I was able to do that not with rentals, not with, any of those types of strategies, but I was able to do it with uh, wholesaling properties, flipping them to other investors, right? Uh, when I started, it was a weird time because remember, like I was saying, that the market had tanked. So there was a lot of people facing foreclosure. Um, and with those people that were facing foreclosure, left um, left a weird situation in the market, right? So it was very hard to wholesale at that time, or harder because a lot of people didn't have access to the money to be able to renovate the houses and flip them and so on and so forth. So I was flipping to other landlords that were not going to, uh, fix and flip the property. They were going to hold on to it, right? And the reason it worked was we were able to catch up the mortgages on these properties, because some of the ones that we were working with, they weren't like a ton of months behind. Um, so we were able to catch up those mortgage payments, right? We were able to flip the homes. And part of the deal was the investor coming in, catch up the mortgage payments, and take over the existing mortgage in place, right? So it it saved the incoming investor from having to go out and get a loan, which again, so many banks were falling apart. You weren't going to get a loan really at that time. So by using the existing financing, and catching up the mortgage payment, um, those properties that we got, I was able to flip and get rid of, right? So it was that upfront wholesale money that was able to pay my bills on the day to day, and allow me to start building the company out. And then I started holding rentals on my own and so on and so forth as things built out. But today, I still use the same methodology or thought process, right? I have the different verticals inside of the real estate investment company where we have our now money, we have our kind of intermediate money, and then we have our long-term money, right? Um, and our now money or in our immediate money comes from those wholesale deals that we do or the uh, creative type structured deals that we're doing, right? Whether it's a subject to or something that we're wrapping or what have you, but it's those things that pay the immediate bills, right? We're using that to pay for any salaries that we have, any marketing that we have, our rent, our yada yada yada, right? The things we need to pay on the immediate. Then for the middle of the road and for the long term, that all falls on either properties that we're fixing and flipping, a property maybe that we're gonna build from the ground up and get rid of. And then our long term comes from the rentals, comes from properties that we're wrapping, and things that we're going to hang on to for 5 to 7 years, or longer, depending on the property. But um, it's that structure that's really been helping us to be able to succeed. Um, and then also the fund. I mean, the fund itself is hugely important for the future because that's allowing us to do much larger projects that are generational, right? That's something that these things that we're doing to the fund is something that you're going to hand down to your kids or your kids' kids, or God forbid something happens, they have a nest egg that's there that will be around to take care of people for hopefully generations to come, right? So that's kind of the thought process behind the structure, and you hit each one of those points or milestones as you're going along, and kind of feeling out of when you want to start the next, right? Because you don't want to jump in right away and start with rentals because now you have something you just put another bill on your back, right? What if you can't get tenants? What if you lose a tenant? What if now you got to make sure that you have the capital to cover for this property if things don't go as planned, right? And things rarely ever go as as planned in life, right? Uh, so you have to really know and examine where you're at. Um, have a good um, understanding of your business, right? Like you have to know your key performance indicators of your company to know where you're at and where you're going and how long it's going to take to get there. So in order to add those additional uh, strategies or verticals or income streams or what have you, you got to make sure you're at the right point to do it. You don't want to do it too early. You're better off. I'd rather somebody do it later than early, because if you jump the gun too soon, it could force you to take several steps back, right? If you take on rentals too soon, maybe you're not going to be able to cover the payments on all of them, and it's going to set you back, right? Or you're going to end up getting foreclosed on or something like that, right? So you want to make sure that when you're first starting, before you get to that next phase, you have enough revenue coming in to where you're covering your expenses, you're covering enough to put in for a reserve account, and that you have steady business flowing. This way, if you do move, if and when you do move to that next phase, you know that you can rely on the first vertical to cover things if things go south in your second vertical, right? So it's really all about planning and structuring your company the right way to accomplish what you want to accomplish. You have to have a clear um, direction on where you're going, because if you don't know that, you're not going to be able to plan correctly, right? It's like jumping in the car and saying, "All right, let's go. We're going to go on vacation." And you don't know where the fuck you're going, right? I'm sorry, I shouldn't curse, but
That's fine.
so not having that direction is you'll be chasing your tail, right? You're gonna be driving in
Yeah.
circles or driving into the ocean or something. But so having that clear plan set for yourself and your company is where you got to start with. Clearly, we all know we need money today, so you have to have that in front of you first. Once you have that and it's going smoothly, and you can actually track your business, and you can um, uh, gauge, predict, improve your revenue, and you know your numbers like that, and you're at a place where you have a cushion. Now you're ready to move to the next vertical, right? Now you can build that one out. Then once you have that one built out, then you go to the next one. Don't do like I did and try and do two of them at one time, because then that leads to headaches too, which was another lesson I learned the hard way. As you can see the pattern with me, right? I like to learn the hard way. My father always told me I had a hard head, so this is the outcome.
I can relate. It's probably the Latino in us, man. So
Probably, right? Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
yeah, it's I mean we tend to do things a little bit different.
Yeah.
No, look, I love that what you're saying, and I think Go4CEO community, you should be able to get a ton of wisdom of what Michael is sharing with you. There's a great book I read from Patrick Bet David called Your Next Five Moves,
Very good
and
book.
he talks about the sequencing, right? And you
Yeah.
just talked about it like a master class,
Yeah.
like in real estate. If you have no cash flow, they can't. The Uncle G says, right? If they don't know you, they can't flow you, right?
Right.
So
That's right.
it's cash flow, cash flow, cash flow is king.
Right. Yeah.
And like you said, at the beginning part, you may want to learn the wholesaling side, because you could move into a community that starts to learn. Okay, hey, this is a good deal, and if you leave enough meat on the bone, man,
Mhm.
somebody else will pick it up, and you make 5, 10, 15 grand, right? Whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But you stack 10 of those together, that's 100 grand,
That's
right?
right.
And now you start to have some capital, and there aren't a lot of bridge loan scenarios out there. There's a lot of investors. I know some people personally that have made millions of dollars that sit with their capital that will do bridge loans.
Mhm.
But at 12, 18, 20% sometimes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So and that's the type of game you have to play at the beginning.
That's right.
And they make their money, you make your money, right?
That's
All that
right.
type of stuff. So it's really cool. I relate it to business, man. I love business. I'm not that big of a real estate guy,
Mhm.
but I love the real estate game because there's such a similarity in traditional C&I, commercial industrial businesses, or
Yeah.
food distribution. Compare, it's all that mindset of how you sequence things. So,
Yeah.
um, well, look, and I love that you've been sharing a ton of the stories, a ton of the
Mhm.
talent optimization, looking for the right people to be in your business. What is it that right now, Michael Fernandez and your operation, what would you
Mhm.
say are two things that the marketplace should know about what you guys are doing, and maybe some programs that you do, or some clubs that they can invest into? What are some of the deliverables you can share today of what people can get into with you guys?
Yeah, so good, another good question. So we have the biggest opportunity with us is through the fund, right? The investors pool. That's the name of the fund. company that runs it is fractional syndication. I have that fund or platform with my two partners, which they also have two very successful businesses. They have one of them owns a international scaffolding company,
Mm.
which they're doing between 20 to 40 million a month. And then my other partner owns a international construction and development company. They're actually the largest non-union construction company in Manhattan. So they build a lot of the superstructures,
Oh, wow.
concrete, steel, all that. They're going up, 1,000 feet in the air. I mean, it's nuts. But the my two partners there are the ones that kind of put together this fund with me. And the fund it's run by a team. I mean, I'm obviously part of it, but the team that we have is a very experienced team of guys that have run hedge funds for 15, 20 years. Guys that have underwritten and raised capital for, hundreds of billions of dollars in deal flow. Um, so it's a very, very um, successful team with an amazing track record. So we brought those folks in, and now the opportunities that are available or that have become available on this platform, and the type of deals that it's drawing are crazy. I mean, and the returns that folks are seeing, they're going anywhere from, like, I think that the lowest re return that we're giving right now is like 18% on your money. We have some deals that are double and triple that. Um, so we have one deal in Florida right now. You walk into the deal and your money jumps 30% because there's a 30% equity in the deal from day one for folks that get
Mm.
in, right? So, and then you have the rental income that comes from these properties. So the opportunity is really great. And the tokenization fund that we have, a lot of people don't know what tokenization is, but
Yeah, share
uh,
that. What does that really mean?
yeah, so the simplest way I can put it is everybody knows what crowdfunding is, right?
Hmm.
You a bunch of people get together, they invest in a company or a property, and then everybody gets a share of ownership, right? Depending how much you put in, you get a percentage of ownership. So if there's a thousand shares and each share is $100, if you put in $500 investment, you get five shares of the company, right?
Hmm.
So it works very similar to that. The only and the big difference is your ownership is not only represented by a share of the company, but it's also represented by a coin, a crypto, right? A what they call a stable coin. They call it a stable coin because the coin is actually backed. Its valuation or its value comes from the asset that it's representing, right? So if you have one share or one coin in this building or this company, the value of that coin comes from that building or that company. It's unlike any other crypto you're looking at, which is totally market driven, right? It's a market demand. Uh it's not backed by anything. It's being pushed by the market, but there's nothing for it to fall back on, right? There's no tangible asset tied to it that can hold its value, right? With tokenization, you do have an asset that backs that coin. So that coin is backed by an appraisal. It's backed by a valuation of a company. I mean, so you have actual um, value that's real, it's tangible, and you own that property. So you can go there, you can drive by, you can touch it, you can go sit on the front lawn, you can go climb on the roof for all we care, right? You actually own a percentage of that property. So you get rental income from it, you get the equity from it, you get the tax benefits from it. And the thing that you will get with tokenization that you can't get in any other real estate deal is you get real and true liquidity. So what does that mean? So any real estate deal you get into, um, you buy a house, you buy into a development project. Say you do crowdfunding on a apartment complex in Florida, um, and you own 5% of it, right? Or 1% of it, or whatever. You buy a house for yourself as a rental property. No matter what property you buy or invest in, there's only one of a couple ways you can get your money back. You either have to refinance the whole project or property, you have to sell the whole project or property, or you have to find somebody to come in and take your shares, right, of the company, right? If the other partners approve of you doing that, right?
Hmm.
So in essence, you're pretty much once you're in one of those deals, you're stuck until the property sells or until everybody agrees to refi, right? With tokenization, you're not stuck because you can take your coin and you can go to the market and sell your coin on the open market. So if you have five of them, 10 of them, 100 of them, you can sell all of them. You can sell one of them. You can sell half of them. Um, you can do it however you want. It's just like a stock or just like a Bitcoin. You go on Coinbase and you can sell your Bitcoin or your Ethereum or your whatever it may be. Or if you have a share of Apple stock or Microsoft or whatever, you want to cash out your money from those shares, all you do is you go and you put it on the market and you sell it. You put in a sell ticket, right, for your at your brokerage. It's the same thing with tokenization. If you want to cash out some of your equity or you need some of your investment back because another investment came about, you can take a portion of your um, invested dollars out by selling a portion of your coins on the secondary market, right? Or you can sell all of them, or you can sell just one, or you have a lot of freedom and flexibility. You have true liquidity with it because you can pull your money anytime you want, unlike regular real estate where you cannot do that. You're stuck, right? So that is a really big draw to people that invest because they know they can pull their money out of this real estate deal anytime they want, um, without getting penalized, without getting delayed, without needing anybody's approval. Um, it's as simple as you going, putting in a sell ticket or even trading them. You can trade them for other projects. People do that as well. So it gives you that flexibility with tokenization that you don't get anywhere else. You also have transparency and you have a lot of additional protection because you can't just steal a deed that's been tokenized because everything is recorded on the blockchain. You have to be able to provide the proof that you actually paid for this property or that you actually whatever with the property. They're going to go back on the blockchain, verify your transaction that you actually did this, and then at that point, the deed transfer can take place, right? Once you've proven
Mhm.
that you own it. So it gives you that extra level of security that you don't get with a legacy type real estate deal. Um, and you have that transparency as well. You can see who owns it, who put in what. Um, because of the blockchain, it gives you that as well. So it has a lot of upside to it. The downside, which is always a downside to everything. Nothing is perfect. The downside is that some people say that the taxes are a little harder when you go to do your taxes at the end of the year. Sometimes you may not have a accountant that's familiar with it. And that's really the most difficult thing about it. Is having somebody that knows how to do the taxes.
Taxation of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how to do it the right way.
Well, no, I mean, look, that was a little mini masterclass on tokenization, and again, you
Yeah,
took the initiative to learn that aspect of bringing that component to your company, component to the way that you do business, to
yeah,
add more value to what you do in the marketplace, right? So,
yeah.
really awesome stuff. So, look, as we wind down the interview, we always like to share, hey, what are some ways that people can get a hold of you? How would you like them to interact with your investor pool? What website? And you're in New York then? Is that where you're from? Oh, hello.
Yeah, I lost you for
Yeah,
a second
yeah,
there.
yeah. I was just
Yeah,
saying,
you're
how
back.
how how
Yeah.
would you like people to connect with you to, maybe look at the investor pool the fund that you have out together? What are some of the best ways to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I mean, you can go to theinvestorspool.com. That's the investors plural pool.com. You can find me on LinkedIn under the investors pool. We're on X as well. Or you can email me directly. It's Michael at theinvestorspool.com. So pretty simple. Just make sure that if you're going to email or go to the website, you got to put in the S because it's investors is plural. Sometimes people mess up on that, but
Yeah, you don't want to go to a suspect site.
yeah, no,
Uh,
yeah, absolutely
yeah,
not.
yeah.
But
Awesome, brother.
yeah, yeah, man, no, no, so those are the best ways to get us. Yeah,
Awesome, awesome. Well, hey, we appreciate you coming on the GO4CEO channel. It's really just a ton of wisdom that you've shared. This space of real estate is so attractive, right? Because it's brick and mortar. It's something that you could really feel, touch, and be a part of.
yeah,
Sometimes businesses and other things that you do in life, you don't really get to see. Like, okay, what did I put my money into? How is it being affected? Like, where can I really feel and touch it? And that's why it's one of the best industries to create millionaires and billionaires. And a lot of people have worked hard and you went from that tragedy that happened to going back into the cooking and restaurant world to coming right back out a few years later and building the empire that you have and the connections that you have. So we're grateful for you to come out and share a little bit of your wisdom. So looking forward to having you on in the future and staying in touch, man. So thank you so much.
likewise, man. Thank you. I appreciate you coming on.